Okay, so this is a fuel gas system. Previously we have gone through the gas industry in Malaysia one and two, which is a fuel gas. So today we will try to cover the whole topic lah. So this is our reference, our CLO, and then information on the gas industry. How is the gas industry like in Malaysia? We are the 15th largest gas reserve and 27 largest crude oil reserve in the world, which means we are exporting oil all around the world. So we are earning a good income from Malaysia is earning a good income from oil and gas. So this is a photo of our natural gas reserve of a pipeline, and then this is the percentage of how much oil, natural gas we have either at Sarawak, at Sabah, Sarawak, or the peninsula west and east of Malaysia. So this is the act for a little summary of the chapter one, part one and part two. This is the act and regulation for the gas, and then how gas is supplied has to follow the law because of because for safety reason, and then because all law have to be applied to acts have to be applied to this construction of this process of flowing from the supply to the demand. So the law is to protect for consumer and then to protect the people who's working also. And this is a diagram of how fuel, the natural gas and the liquid petroleum gas is being harvested. So most of this natural gas and liquid petroleum gas, they are deep in the earth. So we will have a drilling rig which will drill deep into our earth crust, and that's how we try to find where the gas or the liquid petroleum gas is. So once it's being drilled, you'll put in a tube. Then from this tube, there will be a processing or a plant here which will draw out all this gas, and then from there on they will be processed and given to the consumer lah. So natural gas and liquid petroleum gas, the both of the usage, as I covered before previously, they are in Malaysia. We use it for cooking, and then if there is some vehicle or engine that can utilize it, this one is mostly on taxi lah. You have a NGV taxi with a sticker behind, and then they'll have a engine or tank in front of their car in which they can pump the natural gas. So this one you have to take note. You have do not have to take note lah. This one, if you see it on the road, let me show you quickly. So it's rare lah in Malaysia, but mostly this is used by the taxi. So not a lot of places offered a refill for natural gas. So if they have refill, from what I know, it is mostly at Petronas. So the tank will be located in front. This is how they will look like lah. Mostly it will be used by the taxi. So you can search. So all of them, their tank is located in front of the car lah. Okay, one thing to note is natural gas is lighter than air, so there's not much danger. But liquid petroleum gas is heavier than air, so if there's a leak, liquid petroleum gas is more dangerous than natural gas lah, because this is because there's a difference in the specific gravity because of the component inside. This is what differentiates the natural gas and the liquid petroleum gas. And then natural gas is more cost efficient as compared to the other petroleum based energy source. And that's about it lah, between the difference between natural gas and the liquid petroleum gas. So this is the different component of how this gas is being distributed. We have five. different distribution system: the city gate station, district station, service station, feeder line, distribution line, and distribution line will be where to out will be the end system lah, where the consumer will be here lah. So one thing you notice, the five component is that at the city gate station, they are transporting it at a very high pressure, which is 500 to 800, and then they are reducing as as it close as it get closer to the consumer. So from 800 to 260, from 260 to 60, and then 60 to 4.3, and then 4.3, and then you are given it to the consumer. So the idea behind why they want to transport it at a higher pressure is because of efficiency. So you do not want to have a very small pipe supplying water to the consumer because it's inefficient. So like liquid and gas, you want to have a very big pipe so that you can transport more water, or in this case more gas, to the consumer. So this is the idea behind trying to transport it at a higher pressure. So in gas, because it is able to float here and there, that's why you instead of amount of it instead of using amount of water to measure, in gas you use pressure. So you try to pressurize the gas into some sort of like a liquid, and then you this way you'll be more storage efficient, which means you compress the gas into liquid, some sort of liquid gas state. This way you'll be able to transport more gas per area. So this is a gas supply schematic. Another gas supply schematic. So liquid petroleum gas, as I mentioned, the usage for both natural gas and LPG is the same. We use it for cooking, or either that to fuel the car, which is taxi. Okay. So the specific gravity is heavier as compared to natural gas. So there will be a danger if it's leaking. So if you see in a movie, there will be people will try to suicide using by opening this gas tank, the gas tanky, and then if they were to inhale it, then you will die lah. So not much different between the natural gas and the LPG. So this is the gas tanky with which the LPG is being stored. So we use it to do our cooking. As of now, most of our supply is from this, but in US there are gas supply line, which is done using underground distribution pipe. So each condo, they do not have to rely on this gas tanky. They just open their valve, and then just like water, they'll be able to get their natural gas to do their cooking, or either their LPG. So this is a distribution system for LPG. So the advantage of using the LPG or natural gas is all these burning appliances do not need much maintenance. You just need an outlet to release the heat or the any cooking order, and that's it lah. So it's a very simple system. And then the last is, if you are using the advantage of fuel gas, if you are using pipeline, then you don't have to allocate a space for your gas tanky. And if you're using natural gas, then it's a very clean burn. So there's not any ash or soot. So these are the few advantages of the fuel gases. So this is important lah. Make sure you remember this. Okay, the difference between natural gas and the LPG. Flame temperature is the same, but natural gas and LPG requires different storage. So LPG requires storage space and frequent refuel, meaning that LPG cannot be supplied by pipeline. Only NG can be supplied by pipeline, but NG can be supplied by tanker storage tank also. So one of the disadvantage of the LPG is that you cannot supply it through pipeline. Flammability, not much difference, but NG is more difficult to ignite if there's a leakage. And then natural gas produce less carbon dioxide as compared to LPG. So it's a bit more environment friendly as compared to LPG, but that's not very important because both of them also are also producing carbon dioxide. Okay, so continue on. This is the new stuff lah. So previously I just covered and do a summary of the part 1 and 2. So this is the different types of how the fuel gas system can be installed. So they can be done through bulk gas storage or the manifold gas system, or is it direct from pipeline. So there's 3 sort of installation. So the first one is the bulk gas storage. So a bulk gas storage is a big tank. Either they are above ground or they are underground. So if they are above ground, then they will have all this isolation valve and they will have a stand, and then there should be safety signage to show that this is flammable. And then another thing that's not shown in this picture is there should be a shelter. So you do not want to have this tank which have high pressure in direct sunlight. So if you have direct sunlight on this tank which is filled with pressurized gas, and then what will happen is, worst come to worst, there will be a case of it exploding, and you do not want that to happen. So there should actually be a shelter, a ward off place, fencing, and then a safety sign to say that this is a storage. So in the bulk gas storage and also the manifold gas system so in this picture that shows that there's a house in it. So this is to make sure that everything is housed properly and safely from other people. So people don't go and mess with this. So they are constructed to ASME boilers and pressurized vessel code, which means it's made to withstand very high pressure, because this is a gas, but if you're only using gas to store the energy, then it will be very efficient, because once the gas is used up, then it will be used up very quickly. So we want to store the gas under pressure into liquid so that we can store more in the same area. So that's the reason why we are to use this. So this is a bulk gas storage, and then the manifold gas system. So manifold gas system is a cylindrical, and then the bulk gas storage is a pressurized big tank. So one thing to note, this is just for info you are to install the cylinder not exceeding the safety distance stated in the relevant code of practice. So because there will be a lot of cylinder, you need to have a bit of distance between them, so you cannot just lump them all together. So this is just a code of practice which the placement or how the cylinder have to be stored. Okay, the last is the direct from pipeline. So this is a very direct, which means from the supply where the gas is being produced, it will be supplied at a very high pressure, and then as it moves towards the city to the consumer, then the gas pressure will be lowered to a desirable level or desirable pressure which we can use comfortably. So pipeline will naturally be the best is will be we install it underground lah, so that we do not have to it will not be unsightly to see all these pipelines here and there lah. For best practice lah, we want to install all these pipeline like our water, our sewage, even our telephone line or internet line. We all want to try to install it underground to make our city looks neat. So there will not be any wire on top of our view or underground or on the ground. So that's why we want to have all our utilities inside the ground. Okay, so there will be a comparison between the bulk storage and the pipeline for LPG and NG. So I covered that NG can be supplied in these two methods, but one of the problem with LPG is that you cannot supply it with pipeline. So there's a difference between the X, the safety X, which covers for bulk storage and pipeline. And then bulk storage can be used for all types of fuel, but LPG natural gas system can only be used for pipeline. And then for bulk storage, normally above ground or underground. And then pipeline, you want to do it is in a storage compartment. Or underground pipeline. Okay. And then pressure is set in the bulk tank. And then gas pressure must be lowered before being piped to house. So this is a point form for bulk storage and the direct from pipeline lah. The comparison between the methods of supplying the natural gas and the LPG. Okay, so for all said and done, one of the things that is very important is that this is important lah. So for your exam, so few gases in their natural states are odorless. So that's why they have to be odorized with odorant compound, which is sulfur. So sulfur will give you like a rotten egg smell. So once you smell a rotten egg smell, you know that your gas is leaking. Because all these fuel gas are being used to, their function is being used to cook. So because in their natural state, in addition to that, in their natural state, they are odorless. And the problem is if you are to breathe it in, or you have your gas in an enclosed room, because it's pressurized, it can easily fill up your whole room with these gases. And these gases are dangerous in the sense that if it reach a high level, it means that your room is enclosed and the fuel gas is leaking. If you reach a high level, then it will actually kills you because of the chemical buildup. And then instead of our body consuming the oxygen, the fuel gas will fuse into our body and then it will kill us. So odorant are put it in as a safety measure. So there's a case here which shows that before fuel gas are being odorized, there's a case in US where the 1937 New London School explosion. So the gas is being built up in the school, and then because of a spark, it exploded and then it kills all the students and the faculty member. So the one thing to note is that odorant, although is sulfur, are being put at a very, very low concentration, which means at this concentration, it will be considered as non-toxic to human or our end user. So this is important. So you'll find that all your natural gas or all your fuel gases that we use in our house, if you were to open it, there is smell. So this is the reason why all our fuel gas is being odorized, because fuel gas we will not be able to see it. That's why one of the safety measure is by odorizing the gas. And then the next is the gas supply system fitting. So we'll finish this and then we go for a short while break. Okay, so a gas pressure regulator. So this is important lah. This is so important. The purpose of gas pressure regulator is to maintain a constant downstream gas pressure by reducing the upstream or inlet pressure to a desirable downstream pressure. So as the name indicated, a gas pressure regulator is to regulate the pressure from upstream to the end user. So this gas pressure regulator, the function is to maintain a constant flow regardless of how the changes in gas from the upstream pressure. Then they have three main components on how it works, which is the loading element. So the loading element is a spring. So depending on how high the pressure is with the supply pressure, this spring will regulate and give a constant pressure on how the supply is being on the supply to the end user. So this is the loading element in which it controls the pressure from upstream to the downstream. So if there is a very high pressure from the upstream, then this spring, this loading element will counteract to ensure that there's a constant supply. So this is the information on this is a long explanation. And then there's a B and C lah. So B is a measuring element. So measuring element is for the supplier to tax you on how much you use lah. So it measures the changes in the downstream condition and respond to the positioning of the valve to a position which counteracts the changes and return the downstream pressure to its original level. And then there will be a C, which is the last part, which is a restricting element. It's a valve part of regulator. So it increase or decrease downstream pressure by either close down or open up the valve. Okay, so these three elements that is mentioned just now. Oh, this picture isn't very clear. So the loading element is the spring, and then the measuring element is this plate here, and then the restricting element is another valve here. So all these three, they are working together to ensure that you have a constant stream of gas at the end user level or at the consumer level. So if without any of this one thing, then you will not be getting a constant stream of pressure, which is bad for the consumer lah. You do not want to suddenly be cooking halfway and then there's an inrush of gas from the supply, and then when you're cooking, if there's an inrush of gas, then the fire will explode in your face lah, which is not something you want to supply to your consumer or your end user. So that's why there's this in place, but we don't have it in Malaysia lah. So we don't have it all around Malaysia yet, but in US, in which they have gas supply line to homes, they will have this regulating component in. So all of these, they are working together to ensure that the end user have a constant stream of gas. So if any one of these has a problem, then this whole thing have to be replaced, because it won't there's a problem, it won't be able to allow for a constant stream of gas. Okay, so I think this is the okay. So this will finish this part, and then we'll go for a short break. So last part is the gas meter. This is used to measure and record the gas flow in both domestic and commercial appliances. So this is for the supplier to tax on the consumer on how much gas they use based on this. So go after they are after they pass by this regulator, there will be this gas meter, which is this. So this gas meter will measure how much gas is being used in by the consumer. So this is a schematic of it. Usually this is positioned outside the house, some sort of like our TMB supply. There will be a meter. So there will be generally the gas meter is installed at the ground floor where it's easily accessible by public lah. So it's not installed under a staircase, and then you want to put it at a dry place. So that's about it for the first